I reject socialism outright. I reject Marxism, Leninism, communism, any of these isms that have come out of a political theory that basically denies the worth of each and every individual, denies people's aspirations to reach for the stars, denies the fact that we have inherent God-given rights. And so we've seen this play out over and over again in different parts of the world. And unfortunately, we have states in this country that have gone totally off the deep end with leftist governance. And what has that gotten you? And I think the great thing about here in South Florida is the antenna is very sharp when people are peddling this. And they realize that, some of this stuff sounds an awful lot like some of the things they heard in their home country or in their parents' or grandparents' home country before it went Marxist. And so in Florida, we are very proud that because we have a spine that is infused with a lot of the freedom-loving people in this community, that is not going to happen here. We are going to remain the nation's refuge for freedom. Yes, ma'am. We do not want to see malign foreign influence in the state of Florida. And the number one source of that influence, not just in the United States, but really around the world, is the Chinese Communist Party. And what they're able to do economically, culturally, militarily to expand their power. And they have a lot of presence now in our own Western Hemisphere. And you see a lot of leftist governments, Cuba, Venezuela, they welcome in the CCP into our very own hemisphere. We think that that's something that we need to take seriously, and we think that that's something that we need to do what we can in the state of Florida to push back against. And so we were able to enact legislation to combat and improve penalties for corporate espionage, because a lot of times they'll try to steal trade secrets, and they do this all the time, and we need to hold people accountable. But what we also did was sign a bill to combat foreign influence of malign countries, particularly the CCP, in higher education. And that means we did things like ban Confucius Institutes at our higher education establishment. And I would note Miami-Dade College had a Confucius Institute here, and this is really a mechanism for the CCP to expand propaganda in the United States. And so it was a situation here. I became governor. This was before the bill passed, and we had folks, I see we have Marcel and the trustees, this can't happen. I mean, first of all, it's not good anywhere, but why would you want a CCP operation in Miami, of all places, where people understand the malevolence of this ideology? And so I'm happy to say Miami-Dade College, they short-circuited the Confucius Institute even before we had to do the bill. But now that we have the legislation in place, that's going to protect Florida taxpayers from being involved in our state institutions, from being involved in what everyone has acknowledged is just a propaganda operation.